West Ham's January transfer window was interesting, to say the least, or not very interesting, to put it very frank. And it wasn't the best transfer window. We're just going to go straight to the point. It was. Would you consider it a failure, Sloth? Yes or no?
It's diabolical. Yeah.
Going to say that's a yes. Yeah, I mean, we brought in Evan Ferguson on loan. We've brought James Ward-Prowse back and recalled him from his loan. And we've signed Daniel Cummings, I think, on like a pre-contract for the summer. And yeah, I think in terms of outgoings, I don't think there was anyone that we sold. I can't remember now. It's all gone into a blur. But yeah, it's been a really bizarre January transfer window for West Ham, as is pretty much every January transfer window at West Ham. Obviously, we've seen Tim Steidten now leave the club as well, so we're going to talk about that a bit. But why is it every time we have this platform in a transfer window to, invest in the manager that's just come in or, show signs of progression, that we seem to fail? And all of the transfer links and rumors and news that was being reported and coming out has been just an absolute mess. And it looks like a lot of it is our own doing. So, Soph, what's your overall verdict on the transfer window? And then we'll get into some more specific details as well.
I just think it's a disaster. Yet another example of how David Sullivan is completely inept in the transfer market and is so just willingly fighting against any progress that West Ham make. And people might go, oh, he spent money. And it's like, you cannot just think that spending money in the summer is going to progress you. Look at the work of clubs around you and what they do. And there's good business to be done. I know it's an incredibly hard window to sign players in, but when you have domestic loans available and gigantic squads that have players who are not only full of ability, but want to leave and play minutes of football, how you can't agree deals for key areas of our squad is absolutely, for me, it's inexcusable. There are so many people who work at a football club and who will arrange to get the deals done. And people might go, oh yes, but Tim Steidten left and so we had to get a new recruitment. I understand that. It's not an excuse because there are so many scouts, there are so many people who work in recruitment, there are so many people who will have spoken to the manager or know how Graham Potter works and operates and will have watched West Ham for the season and go, you know what, this is who we should target, this is why we should target them, this area is a real pinpoint for us, we need to do something to address centre back or central defensive midfield, forward, and oh look, we have an injury, so maybe we want to look at getting a versatile attacker in to cover that, who we can use long term. And yet again, all we've done is go for a loan option. And Ward-Prowse does bring positives, but he doesn't address the big issues we have in the midfield.
Yeah.
And I just think this is the reason we never kick on. And we saw it particularly with Sullivan and Moyes when, we had an excellent chance to really progress in Europe. And I'm not, downplaying the Conference League win in any way, shape or form. But the chance to progress against Frankfurt was there. We had the chance to address the obvious issue in the window. And yet again, we consistently ignore it. We don't choose to capitalise and target these areas. We just let the opportunity slip. And again, I know it's a tough window to sign in, but it's inexcusable in the modern era of football if you don't at least try with a signing. I'm not saying we tried FC as usual, but if you don't bring someone in, then you cannot say you attempted to fix it. And if you don't bring someone in who fits what you need, not just Danny Ings, not someone who completely negates how you play football or goes against what you need. If you bring in someone who tries to address that, then it's excusable if you fail. But to not do it is totally unacceptable.
Do you think it was I don't want to say it, but a lack of intent from everyone within the club to actually make these signings? I mean, we were linked with a lot of deals. You know, there were a couple of deals we were very, very close to getting over the line. You know, both young talents as a forward, a young talent in midfield. So there were deals there that were, it was being reported, you know, things were pretty much there. You know, we're on the cusp of getting the deal agreed, and then, you know, bang, it's dead in the water. And then the next day, in terms of Krupi, he signs for Bournemouth on a pre-contract. So was it a lack of intent, or was it a lack of trying in the January transfer window, or was it just deals didn't happen?
It's definitely, look, it's no one else at the club's fault apart from David Sullivan. He is the man who signed the checks, and he is the man who, now Tim Steidten has gone, whether you like him or loathe him or whatever, he was the one who was in charge of getting the deals done pre this window, before he was, you know, rightly told to leave. The issue isn't from someone like Maximilian Hahn, who sat there analysing players. It's not from Mark Noble. It's not a case of people going, oh, Potter's coming in, we now need to readdress every single list of players that we have. That's not how football works. This is an issue at the top of the club from someone who was willing to leak stories, was willing to try and get West Ham fans excited, and had no intent to sign a player.
Do you think that's what it was then? It was more the media reports to appease West Ham fans throughout the January, but not actually do anything on it?
It's every single January. Yeah. Every single January this happens. And the only time he's actually done anything that's made a difference was when we were in fear of relegation and we signed Souček and Bowen. It's the only time we've had a quality January transfer window, because he was actually forced to put his hand in his pocket, or it was going to cost him tens, potentially hundreds of millions because of relegation.
What positions do you think we needed to address in January? I think for me, we needed to bring in a centre-back, obviously with Tadebo's injuries, Mavropanos' form, you know, the lack of options we have there. The fact we're playing Cresswell and Kufau right now as our back three is mind-boggling. And as you say, with Potter, he wants to play a back three, so it makes sense to sign a centre-back now anyway. And also in midfield, you know, that engine in midfield, whether that was letting Guido Rodriguez or Andy Irving go and bringing in someone else as to be that engine and that box-to-box player. And the other one was striker, which we have done with Evan Ferguson on loan. It may be short-term, but it has been addressed in that situation. But for me, we were lacking at least two signings there, that box-to-box midfielder and centre-back. Does that resonate with you, Stoff, or is there anything else you would have liked to have seen come in?
I think winger as well. You know, I mentioned a versatile attacker. You knew for a fact that Somerville was injured, and you would have known the severity of his injury before the Chelsea game. So why are you not working to address that in the final few days of the transfer window? You know, as soon as he goes down with a hamstring injury, oh, he's just had one, so this one could be worse. Safeguard yourself, protect yourself from the risk. And if it's not that serious, well, worst case scenario, you've got a bit of extra competition in the attack. But to do nothing is completely inexcusable, in my opinion. So I would have gone for a versatile attacker, and someone, you know, who can offer you that left wing cover, but also up top. Evan Cassand at Nice. We know a deal was there to be done, because, you know, if we're going to go off all these reports that we were willing to pay however much money, then we were also told that, you know, there's a high chance of getting the deal done. And I would have gone for a centre mid. People will potentially say, oh, Andy Irving played well against Chelsea. That's excellent. You know, I think he did look good, but it doesn't address the issues in the squad. And I think that, you know, when you look at the alternatives, say Andy Irving picks up a knock and you have to bring someone else in, we're right back to square one. James Ward-Prowse coming back again, it doesn't really fix the issues, in my opinion.
Agreed.
It's a very, very good option to have because of the set piece quality that he offers, but it doesn't solve the lack of bite in the midfield, the lack of ball carrying ability, and
I mean, I've seen people put in lineups with James Ward-Prowse back in, and they're playing a midfield pivot of Souček and Ward-Prowse, and we know that isn't Ward-Prowse. We saw it last season. Ward-Prowse was best when he was playing number 10 or as the advanced 8, the second striker. So unless he's going to come in to play in that position, then, as you say, James Ward-Prowse doesn't address the issues in that midfield too that we've got long-term as well. Do you think, on the balance of things, the situation that arose with Tim Steidten during the January transfer window, that I'm just playing devil's advocate here, that we have to maybe take things a little bit less, take it more holistically, right? So you've got these issues with Tim Steidten, you've got Graham Potter's new recruitment staff coming in, that potential conflict of what Tim Steidten was doing, the reports that have come out, we're not going to go into too much detail on them, but it's pretty bad from Tim Steiden's perspective as well. So he's no saint in this, but do you think that conflict between Sullivan, Steidten, West Ham as a whole has impacted our ability to do January transfer window activity?
It's not an excuse. As there are hundreds of people who work at a football club, and if you cannot separate yourself from that for like a couple of days, then you shouldn't be running a football club. We wouldn't get any signings done if off-pitch drama was affecting the club that much. And I think people, again, they're kind of fed this excuse of, oh, it's a difficult window to get things done, or it's, a changeover of recruitment staff. Well, are you do you honestly believe that someone isn't sat there and saying to Graham Potter as soon as he comes in, who do you like? He's not been out of football and just sat with his feet up watching the Sopranos box set. He will have a foot in the game, or his recruitment staff, the staff who are already at the club will immediately go to him and say, here's some players we like, here's some players in positions we feel like we need to address. What do you think? And if Graham Potter doesn't agree, he doesn't agree. But if he doesn't, then he should say, well, I actually really like this player, or I feel that maybe we could address it with, I don't know, Maker, who ended up leaving Chelsea to go to Dortmund. It's that sort of thing where there's always an alternative and there's always a deal to be done. It's not a case of Graham Potter's just walking in and going, oh, actually, you know what? I need to draw up a list of football. Sam Allardyce was famous for this. Okay, Sam Allardyce had a folder of targets that he liked, and he took from club to club. I'm not saying Graham Potter should do this or should operate like that, but in the modern era of as a football manager, you should know the game enough to have targets in mind. And if you are potentially talking to a club, as rumoured early as December, you should plan for the January transfer window.
Yeah.
So don't buy it a second.
Do you think that Sullivan has almost put more pressure on himself for the summer now? Because obviously Graham Potter's come in, as you say, there's so many injuries and there's so many key players missing from how we would want to play under Graham Potter that we haven't really seen the best of West Ham yet, or what Graham Potter can do. Just like even looking at the squad again, the first 11 against Chelsea, as you say, Andy Irving being forced to play in midfield, the back three containing Cresswell and Kufal. The players we're currently starting, they're not going to be first. It's not West Ham's strongest squad. It's probably half of what it could be right now. So is there more pressure now on the summer transfer window because of the lack of activity that's happened in January?
He's given himself a monumental task, and we already know he cannot do that. He cannot handle running a top level football club that is going to compete, because any counter argument to that was proven by the fact that we couldn't handle multiple competitions. And that's not a write-off to David Moyes in any way. I've said many times that if you want to judge him properly, you have to sign the players that he wants. We didn't do that. Multiple windows, we did not do that. We gave him some, but we didn't give him all the players and all the positions that we clearly needed to address.
Yeah.
And this summer, Cresswell and Soufal, they're off. Cresswell, there should be no way on this planet that Aaron Cresswell gets a contract extension. And I don't mean that it is disrespectful, but I don't mean it with the sort of venom that...
In the context of his age and quality right now, yeah.
He does not get a contract extension, particularly on the wages that he is on, at any other Premier League football club.
Yeah.
I would be amazed if anyone disagrees with me on that.
Yeah.
But also, Vladimir Soufal, his contract's up at the end of the season. So you already have to then address wing-back depth. You already know that you've got a back line that is very, very weak, is conceding a lot of goals. You're going to have to address left back, right back depth, and centre back depth. So that's already quite a strong, quite a tough ask. And we know that David Sullivan doesn't like spending money on defenders, and when he does, he is hypercritical of it. Luckily, we may well manage to get some form of profit or break even with Naya Aguerd. But we still have to address the central midfield. And then we still have to address the issues going forward with the attack, because Danny Ings is off as well. Mikel Antonio, I would love him to appear in a West Ham shirt again, but his contract's up at the end. And personally, like, again, just from a business point of view, we're not a charity, and as much as he's been amazing for West Ham, I don't see why we should offer him another contract unless it's on massively reduced terms. So you already then have two strikers leaving, and it's a massive ask for any football club to replace that many players, and it not just squad fillers, potential starters, quality players.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. You know, we put so much pressure on ourselves in every summer transfer window to have this complete overhaul. Like, I think we must have said it for the last 3 summer transfer windows on this channel, that every summer transfer window is this huge, big project that we need to do. We need to transform the squad. There's going to be so much change. And again, big part of that is because of our lack of January transfer activity and being smart and signing players in January, where it is notoriously tougher to do deals, but planning for that and looking at areas or positions where you can sign, which is maybe a longer term prospect, or, you know, there's things you can do in January that alleviate some of that pressure from the summer transfer window. Also, we know two cards have been played that we know we have money to spend. Number one, we knew that from our interview with Kieran Maguire that, you know, the PSR, FFP stuff, we're fine. We're absolutely fine. We can spend money. And number two, we bid for Duran. We bid, 50 million for Duran this January transfer window. So very early on, we played our cards. So the money was there to spend. If there weren't deals available, fair enough. But we both know, as you said, Graham Potter will know the type of player he would want. And I guarantee you, if Sullivan said, here's 50 million to spend January transfer window, what would you like to spend it on? How do we spend it? Let's just get it done. Absolutely, Graham Potter would have provided that. So, yeah, I mean, it does place more emphasis on the summer transfer window again. And as you say, you've got it's going to be another big overhaul in the summer, and it's going to be so many rumors, so much chop and change, and we don't know what situation we're going to be in come the summer transfer window. But just to summarize, Sloth, what are the positives we can take from this January transfer window? For me, I would say Evan Ferguson. We've brought in, as we said on our other video, you know, a striker that is still very young, but has a lot of potential and a lot to prove, and could, for this next 6 months, really showcase his quality in a West Ham shirt. And also, in a positive way, that pressure on Sullivan to spend in the summer could turn out to help Graham Potter long term if he gets more resource available to spend in the market, and maybe take a little bit more control with the new head of recruitment coming in as well. So are there any other positives that you would see to this January transfer window? I
mean, we got Potter in. That's
on a free
something, I suppose. And I don't mean that with disrespect to Potter. You know, I already stated that I think we look much better under Potter than we ever did. with Lopetegui, and I think with his style of coaching, with the fact he is, you know, bringing through young players, I mentioned we have to get a left back. Well, you know, Skulls is looking fantastic. And
well, that was going to be my other positive, is that we've been, this January transfer window, we've seen Orford and Skulls feature in the first team.
Yeah, well, but you could also potentially say, is that because of necessity over the fact that, you know, Potter came in and said, I'd love these guys to play more. And
yeah, I think with Orford, yes. I think Skulls was given that opportunity because he was, you know, yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I think Skulls, he is going to be a potential starter.
Yeah,
for many years to come. I think he's looked fantastic. But it's also a case of Emerson's not quite hit the heights that he has done for West Ham, and if you had given Potter a pot of money to go out and sign players, I'm sure he would have eventually addressed that position, whether it was with Carl Walker-Peters, who can play both sides. It would have been looked at. So I don't think he's a starter yet. I think someone will come in and replace Cresswell.
Yeah.
But I think what is really positive to see is that Graham Potter does appear to be taking a lot more time to analyse the players at the academy. And we have got a fantastic crop of youngsters coming through. We are already looking towards the summer, and, you know, we've got the young striker from Celtic Cummings, and that's exciting. You know, something that we potentially were looking to bring in this window, but again, we couldn't get done. I think there are positives for the summer, but most of the January transfer positivity, I think, is just coming from things that were already at the club. And Lopetegui, you know, said all the right things in terms of bringing through these academy players. When he first joined, in particular, the very first video he put out, fans were really pleased by that. He did absolutely nothing to
showed up.
To implement that in any way, shape, or form. Potter's already massively improved that. So I think I'm really struggling to find positives.
Well, I mean, that's what it is. It's not been a positive transfer window. That's the point of this video. You know, once again, we've let ourselves down in the January transfer, and we've let Graham Potter down, to be honest, because he probably deserved one or two players to come into this team on top of Evan Ferguson. And, you know, you could argue James Ward-Prowse is like a new signing, but again, it's not an area that addresses key issues on the pitch. It may be a boost in morale for the team because obviously Ward-Prowse was a liked figure within the camp, but on the pitch, it's not going to do much in terms of the quality from a deep midfield position in that midfield pivot. Again, we're not going to go into the details of that now, but it's just frustrating. It's very frustrating. I think that's the word, frustrated. And, you know, as long as Sullivan's in charge of this football club, we're going to have the same frustrations every January transfer window, with the exception, as you said, of that Jared Bowen one where we made that really good signing, and Thomas Souček when we were in trouble of going down, when we were in danger of going down, and maybe the Jesse Lingard loan as well. But again, it was it's just frustrating. We don't need to go into it any more detail, but let us know your thoughts in the comments on the January transfer window, everything that happened with Tim Steidten, Graham Potter's arrival, Evan Ferguson joining on loan, the lack of activity elsewhere. What are your thoughts? Do you think we are overreacting, underreacting? Are you confident for the remainder of this season? Let us know your thoughts down below in the comments. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content. And Slough, until the next one.
Come on, you eyes.